Welcome back, everyone. The iPhone SE third generation has just officially came out, so let's go and compare it against the iPhone 12 Pro and see which specific iPhone you should go and pick up. Now, obviously, I think the iPhone 12 Pro is a better iPhone in most areas, but there are a few areas where the iPhone SE 3 may be the better iPhone for you. Now, this is kind of interesting, but the SE 3 is actually, it's only like $150 cheaper in the brand new market than the iPhone 12 Pro is in the used market. So, kind of interesting there. If you want to pick up either one of these things, links will be down in the description. Get them from there and helps with the channel at the same time. Now, with the iPhone 12 Pro, this iPhone came out in 2020, and it's a very interesting device. I like it. Unfortunately, it had this battery degradation problem, which I don't even know why Apple hasn't addressed yet. But overall, I mean, it is one of the most premium phones I've ever felt in my life. 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel on the front, notch up top, and the bezels on it are great. It doesn't really look too bad. Flat sides, which look beautiful, and this is a very, very good panel for sure. With something like the iPhone SE 3, on the other hand, this is a 4.7-inch IPS panel. Now, this design, it may look familiar to a lot of people. It's a very outdated design as of nowadays, in my opinion. You have a lot of bezel on the top, you have a lot of bezel at the bottom, and this is just not my go-to panel. I'm just not a huge fan of this panel, and that's kind of not even hard to say. I think most people would agree with that, and that's probably one of the biggest downsides of picking up something like the iPhone SE 3 over something like the iPhone 12 Pro. Now, in terms of thickness and thickness, the iPhone 12 Pro is a much thicker phone. The 12 Pro was a very thick phone when it first came out. We've kind of gotten used to it, but that is one thing I've noticed is that the 12 Pro is a much thicker phone for sure, but it's totally okay. It comes with a bigger size battery kind of and everything like that. But on the back, this is very interesting. The iPhone SE third generation has a glass back, right? But the iPhone 12 Pro has this frosted glass back. The 12 Pro feels much more premium, and if you're trying to get a phone that's going to feel the most premium phone, the 12 Pro is definitely the better way to go. And this is a device that's going to last you for a long time in terms of build quality. The iPhone SE 3 was pretty much the same design as the iPhone SE 2, which was pretty much the same design as the iPhone 8 from 2017. So you're kind of getting an outdated design on the iPhone SE 3. The iPhone 12 Pro, on the other hand, a very, very premium phone. Triple camera setup with a LiDAR sensor of the 12 Pro, single camera setup on the iPhone SE 3, wireless charging on both, IP certification on both, lightning ports on both. That kind of covers it up on the outside. Now, in terms of longevity, this is probably where the iPhone 12 Pro may not be as good of a phone as compared to the iPhone SE 3. The 12 Pro originally came out in 2020, like I mentioned. It has technically a year-old chipset compared to the iPhone SE 3. This one has the A15, this one has the A14. Because of that, you're kind of getting a little bit of an older device in terms of the internals on the iPhone 12 Pro. But that isn't everything. There are still some times where the iPhone 12 Pro may be better, like you're getting more RAM on this phone and everything. But if you're talking about just pure how long this phone's going to last, the iPhone SE 3 has the highest potential of pretty much lasting a longer time. So that's kind of a big thing to keep in mind. If you want a phone that's going to potentially last the longest amount of time between these two, the iPhone SE 3 is the better way to go. But I mean, the 12 Pro is still going to be lasting for pretty much almost the same amount of time. So that kind of covers it up there. Let's go and do a speed comparison. The 12 Pro has the Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone SE 3 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you all can see these apps, and I did not clear it out on this one, so give me one moment. There we go. So let's get into it. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, and I don't even have it here. Let's go and get into app stores, 3, 2, 1. And I'm not connected to Wi-Fi here. I am connected to here, so we'll just hop out of this one. Clock, and I'll just go and turn off the Wi-Fi here, so one isn't way faster or slower than the other one. Let's do mail, 3, 2, 1. And about the same thing. I think the 12 Pro may be faster. Clock, 3, 2, 1. And about the same thing too, not a big difference. Let's go and get into their photos, 3, 2, 1. And I think this SE3 was actually slightly faster there, hopping out of all these. Let's go into camera, 3, 2, 1. And I think they're roughly around the same thing. Maybe the SE3 was a little bit faster there, but they were almost identically the same thing too. Let's go and get into podcast, 3, 2, 1. And about the same thing, maybe the iPhone 12 Pro was a little bit faster there. Let's go and get into Apple TV, 3, 2, 1. And I think I already loaded that one up. I don't know why that one was so fast. And that kind of covers it up here. As always, we have a bunch of these third-party applications we can go and load up on both. So let's just get into it. And I don't even think I have too many. That's very strange. But we can always go make our way over to our app library and open it up this way. Calculator, 3, 2, 1. About the same thing, not that big of a difference. Let's go and get into contacts, 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing. Hopping out of this one. Files, 3, 2, 1. And I think the SE3 is faster, but that could have been because I loaded that one up many times before. Health, 3, 2, 1. And the 12 Pro may have been faster there. Let's go into iTunes Store, 3, 2, 1. And both kind of had the same thing that popped up. Hopping out of this one, let's go into music, 3, 2, 1. And about the same thing too, not that big of a difference. Let's go get into something like settings, which is probably gonna be the same on both. 3, 2, 1. About the same thing too. Hopping out of this one, let's go get into shortcuts. 3, 2, 1. About the same thing as well. Hopping out of this one, let's go and end it off with something a little bit more interesting, like the watch app. 3, 2, 1. And I'm definitely getting the same vibe that they're almost identically the same type of speed, to be honest. There really wasn't that big of a difference between both. Even if I tested bigger application, I'm sure it would have been about the same. But the thing to keep in mind is that with the iPhone SE3, you're getting that home button design, which is a little bit dated nowadays. You are getting a little bit more current design with the gesture-based design on the 12 Pro. It definitely feels better in my opinion. So that's a big thing to keep in mind. But in terms of both, I would definitely say that SE3 has the potential of being faster, but from my test right now, they were almost identically the same if I'm being completely honest. But that kind of covers it up here. Let's go and hit on the cameras now. Like I mentioned, they both have a kind of a completely different camera setup. The iPhone SE3 has that single wide-angle lens. The iPhone 12 Pro has that wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto lens. Both can do 4K at 60 on the back. The iPhone 12 Pro can do 4K at 60 on the front. The iPhone SE3 can only do 1080p. Now with the iPhone 12 Pro's camera, what's really good is that this is a very good sensor. I've had nothing but great success in this type of lens. It's a very beautiful camera. It has so much capability. You can zoom in a lot, you can zoom out a lot, and you have things like portrait mode, video mode. You don't have cinematic mode, but neither of these phones have it. But this is still a really good camera. One thing I cannot knock the iPhone 12 Pro for is this camera. It takes beautiful photos, takes beautiful videos, and even now in 2022, this phone is approaching 2 years old. This is still one of the best cameras you can buy, at least for the price tag. And with the iPhone SE3, on the other hand, this is a little bit of a different story. This isn't a bad iPhone by any means, but the problem with this type of device is that it really hasn't improved from its predecessor, and even that phone didn't improve from its predecessor either. So with this cheaper budget iPhone lineup, you're only getting a single lens. That's a big deal. Compared to the iPhone 12 Pro that has multiple sensors, this one only has one lens. You can only pretty much use that wide angle lens. On top of that, you still have portrait mode, which is nice, but no 4K at 60 on the front is also a pretty big deal in my opinion. In this day and age, it's nicer to have as much capability as possible, and unfortunately, this thing is at a very strange spot. So what I'll tell you about the iPhone SE3 camera, it's good enough. I guess if you want to pick up a cheap phone and move on with your life, this is not a bad option, but the iPhone 12 Pro will definitely give you a better experience overall when it comes down to it. And that is genuinely how I feel about this whole entire comparison. I think the iPhone 12 Pro is a better phone overall. The SE3 only has two things going for it: the better chipset inside and its longevity, and maybe the price tag. But in a year or two, the iPhone 12 Pro is going to be probably this price or cheaper than the iPhone SE3, but the SE3 is still going to be at $429. Apple is not going to be changing this price tag for the next 2 years at least. So because of that, the SE3 I think is a good price for. I think the iPhone SE3 is a good phone for a brand new phone for the cheapest price, but it's not a good priced phone. The iPhone 12 Pro, on the other hand, even though I'd probably recommend going up to something like an iPhone 13 if you have the opportunity to, this device is not like a cheap phone. This device is, I think, worth the upgrade coming from the SE3 to this one. Even though I'd recommend going to a 13 Pro, you could even go to an 11 Pro, and I would think that iPhone is better than this one too. But the 13 Pro, it has its place. But the 12 Pro it has its place, and I'd recommend buying this phone over the SE3 in my opinion. So that kind of covers it. If you have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.